The Coffin of Andy and Leyley no doubt shed some light on the disturbing dynamic between the two siblings, but they weren't born with psychopathic and inhumane behavior, but were molded into what they are today, and it's mostly their parents' fault for letting them get this way. Today we'll be talking about Mr. and Mrs. Graves, who are the main reason why the two siblings turned out the way they were. Judging from Andy and Leyley's ages, we can assume the age of Mrs. Graves, which seems to be around 44 years of age. And from her dialogue, she was pregnant with Andrew when she was around 15 years old, and then just 2 years later, at age 17, she gave birth to Ashley. From this information, we can see that she wasn't really being a responsible child herself, or that she was groomed by her husband, Mr. Graves, who was either older than her, or if he was the same age as her, then they were probably fooling around without knowing the consequences of their actions. Right after giving birth to both Andrew and Ashley, the Graves family was not doing good financially, with the father losing his job and mostly visiting the unemployment office to apply to new jobs, while his wife went out to do God knows what. It's never mentioned in the game, but my guess is that she probably did some work on the side to earn some extra cash, which was probably the reason why she did not have time to raise Ashley and Andrew, and also shows the reason why both the parents were negligent towards their children. They were most probably in an open relationship and liked to do their devil's tango a lot, as shown by the toys found in their rooms and the lingerie and the extra bed found in the basement. And considering how the mother told her kids about the excitement of attending the neighborhood barbecue, it's safe to assume that they were being barbecued sauced all over themselves from the neighborhood. This is one of the main reasons why they wanted the kids to leave, so that they would have more space and time to do their devil's tango, and of course they couldn't control their urges around their kids, judging by the way they both react to seeing their parents' bed with a sound of disgust emitting from their dialogues. Growing up in this kind of environment may have had an impact on both of their mental development, which is the reason why they both want to do the deed even though they are siblings, because they probably had a weird connotation of love by seeing the way their parents acted with each other. Of course, the parents never really loved their children. They mostly saw them as a burden to their pleasures, as they couldn't sleep with each other properly, and all of their money was going to raising their two kids whom they did not wanted in the first place, which is why years later Mrs. Graves made a deal with a surgeon who most probably owns the toxic soda company to sell her kids for money. The surgeon would get to harvest her kids' organs, which he will use to replace the organs of his patients who are addicted to his toxic soda, which, as it sounds, is toxic to their internal organs, and thus generating millions of revenue from being a doctor as well as a businessman. They paid the Graves money by insurance fraud, where they faked the children's deaths in exchange for their life insurance funds, and the Graves obviously got a boatload of money for it, considering they were living the elite life with a fireplace in their house. Not much is known about the father, but he seems to be the one whom Andrew takes after, not having a backbone and spine and listening to whatever his wife mostly tells him to do. And considering the rope burn marks on his wrists, it's safe to say that he is the submissive one, but of course their love is similar to Andrew and Ashley's unhealthy one, because the parents are not siblings. The mother also seems to have a soul similar to Ashley's, which is a little less darker than hers, mostly because she did not perform any acts of cannibalism or any other sorts of psychopathic activities that Ashley performed throughout her life and will perform in the future. So in a way, both Andrew and Ashley are an extension to their parents' personalities, but much more amplified because they had to go through childhood trauma and neglect as well, and form their own coping habits.